Hello, friends of software entertainment, and a warm welcome to Never Code Alone. Today with the Drupal community. So on the background, my name is Roland. I'm QR engineer, and I believe that legacy codes will damage our mental healthness. And I do a lot of things for testing and refactoring, and I believe that we have to protect our minds. And a hard reason because I got a mental breakdown a few years ago, and so I want to support open source people because I believe this is all our knowledge and we have a lot of fun with it. And here I have Marine from Drupal, the Drupal community. Maybe please introduce yourself and what are your relationship to Drupal?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I'm Marine. I currently work as a DevRel engineer at Platform.sh, but I'm very involved with the Drupal community. I am currently the president of the French Drupal Association. So there's the Drupal Association, the worldwide one, and then in Europe we tend to have local ones for each country. So I'm currently leading the French one. We're very active. We have a lot of people working with translating Drupal so that it's available when you install it in French. That's the type of things that people do. And yeah, basically, I've started my studies studying English, actually. I have a degree in English language and literature. And then I switched to web development. And that's when I discovered Drupal. Basically, when I was doing my second year, there was like a sandwich course training. So half of my time was working in an agency and the rest of the time was working in class. And I stayed there for 4 years and learned a lot about Drupal and community and best practices. And yeah, I've never left the Drupal community since.
Do you work with other content management systems, or is this first view, first love, and never looked to something else?
No, I have worked a bit with WordPress projects, a bit of Magento, and I mean, I've worked as a PHP developer, so I've done a bit of Symfony, a bit of Cilius, like e-commerce framework. But yeah, Drupal is my favorite thing to do. That's the community I really get involved with. So that's my main CMS. But currently I'm working as a developer relations engineer. So I don't code as much. I don't really do Drupal on a daily basis. It's more like improving developer experience with our product. So I moved a bit away from Drupal development as a daily work, but I still love it.
So yeah, maybe you can show us your love and what you love on it. Because I never used it, I never see it. I think many years ago I saw the admin interface, and I couldn't even explain how it is now or if there are big changes. Now we have a new year, and actual, what version is Drupal?
Okay, so Drupal is now version 10, 10.1 specifically. The 10.1.2 got released, so the ones that we will install is the latest version. So for a little bit of context, it was released at the end of last year, Drupal 10, and there was a big change, a big rift, I might say, with Drupal 8. So basically, currently, Drupal is using Symfony components under the hood, and these started with Drupal 8. Before that, it was all custom code. And so that will explain, maybe when I explain to you the release cycles, you might be a little surprised. But yeah, so Drupal 7, which is the longest Drupal live version existing, will be retired in January 2025 after 14 years.
So long
And
you also
so,
support
yeah,
this version for the next 2 years, full support, because I see like when Shopware is releasing version 6 and they say here security patches is in one
yeah,
year or whatever. I don't know exactly when they close it, the support. And there is a company that still supports this 5. This is a business target for them, but 2 years more supporting is a lot of work, or?
yes. So what happened is it was like a big change. So migrating from Drupal 7 to Drupal 8 is a lot of work. And so that's why it's been really hard for people to move away from Drupal 7, because you need to really invest in this migration. But once you're on Drupal 8, well, not Drupal 8 anymore because it's end of life, actually, you would migrate directly from Drupal 7 to Drupal 10, ideally. But yeah, starting from 8, major releases are actually as easy to update than minor ones, because basically what's happening is we're upgrading the Symfony components, the PHP version, the dependencies. So there will always be a major release every 2 years. But the release cycle is much more coherent. You have small changes happening every 6 months, and then the last release before the major one has all the breaking changes in it. Basically, if you have the last Drupal 9 version, you have all the new features without, all the breaking changes, and you have all the API updates, all the uh, what's the word am I looking for? Dependencies and
Yeah, requirements, dependencies,
the
yes.
deprecations. That's
Okay.
the word I was looking for. So uh, after that, you can fix your code. There's a lot of tooling to help you do that and upgrade to the major version. So the hard thing to do is to move away from Drupal 7, but then it's much easier after that. So that's why Drupal 7 is still supported. Drupal.org is mainly still on Drupal 7 because that's a lot of migration to do. So that tells you why it's really hard to move away from it. But yeah, Drupal 10 has a lot of exciting new things, and performance-wise, just even the developer experience is much, much better. So
Okay, so I want to see this
sure.
content management system, and I will share your screen, yes?
Yeah. So I'm
So,
just starting by showing you Drupal.org with the release cycle, like I was explaining. So it's predictable. So if you want to know more about this, I will share all the links afterwards. But yeah, basically, I can already tell you when Drupal 10.2 will be released, which be for like week of December 11. Then number 3 is June. So every 6 months you have a minor release. And so, yeah, 11 is coming in 1.5 years now. That's every 2 years. So for the sake of this demo, I will be using a local tool called DDev. So
yeah,
many of
I
you might
also do a
already
lot
know
of
that.
with
Yeah.
DDev, yes.
Yeah. I
Randy,
know you
Randy
know.
is the most open source passionate guy I ever seen.
Yeah.
Unbelievable what he's doing for all of us.
Yeah, I think it would be good to invite him soon because he's my colleague, actually. He's working at Platform.sh, and his job
Okay.
is DDev maintainer. So he's in my team, actually. So thank you, Randy, for this amazing tool. And it's one tool that a lot of the Drupal community uses because it's so easy. So basically, for those of you who don't know this, DDev is basically a Docker wrapper, I might say. So you have to install a few things, including tdev, but then after that, you don't have to worry about anything. it will be all contained within it, and you don't have to set up your own Docker images, which is really like a lot of time saved when you need to test something quickly. But there are other options. I want to give a shout out to Drupal pod as well. So if you've used Git pods before, you might know about it. It's basically a way to have your project run in your browser. So basically all you have to do is install a browser extension, and then when you go to the Drupal project code, you can run a Drupal in your browser, just like that.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
I've never seen something like this.
Yeah. Well, I think Git pods are an interesting way to do it. So there's a company, and there's just basically a nice thing you can use. So maybe one day I will show you, but that was not my goal for today. So just know that it exists. You can have a quick test, and it's very convenient. So for now, I will be using DDev because that's what I use in real life. So yeah, I have a backup one already installed, but just in case it fails. But basically what we're going to do is just create a never code alone folder, never code alone demo. That will go. Okay. And then you can just copy paste, because there's this fantastic,
pre-definition
quick starts for each CMS. By the way, I'm just showing you, but for Drupal, you see you have several options here. You can have Drupal 9, Drupal 6, 7, so it's supported, even though it's out of end of life. You can git clone, you can use Backdrop CMS, which is a fork of Drupal's, an interesting way of doing things as well. And there you have all these other CMSs like Typo3. I know you've talked about this.
Yes.
WordPress. So yeah, give it a shout. I mean, it's really easy to use. So after that, we'll just DDev start. And I've started it somewhere else first, but it shouldn't be a problem. And yeah, so basically it's really fast. It's already set up, but of course
it's only using symlinks from the Docker container, because this is much more sustainable and saves a lot of energy and makes us faster. But this is very good that you don't have all the stuff you need for every project.
Yeah, exactly.
Docker things.
Switching PHP versions. I mean, who has time for that? No, I'm kidding. But for this, it's really interesting because sometimes, I need Composer 2 with Drupal 10. And if I'm working on some older version, it's Composer 1. So I don't have to switch
and
all the time.
Elasticsearch versions. Yes.
Yeah. All the versions. So you can see it's really quick. And then I just need this extra requirement, which is Drush. So Drush stands for Drupal Bash, basically. It's a way to have command lines for our Drupal website. So now that we've done the composer within DDev, all we have to do is use Drush to, I think you can see, right? It's a site install. The account name will be admin, and the account path will be admin. And so,
but this is something what you cannot do on many other content management systems. They don't let admin go in any system, because it could be that it's live later.
Well, honestly, it's just for local development purposes, right? Of course, it opened in the wrong one. Wait. Yeah, so if you do DDev launch, it will open in your default browser, which in my case was my work browser. So oopsie, I'm not showing you that. So this is what you get after a few minutes. Obviously, you can do this differently. Once you have done the composer require, you can launch the installer in your browser and select options as you want. For example, I did the default installation, but you can actually decide to install in another language, for example, or with a minimal profile, so less modules, a lighter version of Drupal. And there's also another profile which you can use, which is pretty cool. It's called Umami. It's a demo, and it's a kitchen magazine, like cuisine, food stuff. And so it gives you default content, a custom theme, just so you can explore. But we're doing Drupal out of the box, so I'm showing you what you would most likely start from if you don't have already like a custom Drupal skeleton. And yeah, that's the new theme that comes from the default install. It's called Olivero. And let's log in so I can show you the other admin theme. Okay, so let's start here. We are in Drupal back office, and you can see that there's a lot of stuff. So I will say for people used to content management systems like WordPress, this is a bit scary. I understand that. And this is because Drupal core comes with a lot of features built in. So obviously you have a lot of menus. I would say, because I know you wanted to talk about this, so if we're going to compare WordPress and Drupal, which everybody does, WordPress works well for smaller websites. If you want a blog, I think I would go to WordPress rather than Drupal if it's like a very small one, because Drupal comes with a lot of stuff and maybe you don't need all of this. But if you need something really sturdy and you have specific needs, I think Drupal is a good choice, especially because the community has been working a lot on making it, beautiful and easy to use and accessible. Actually, people in the Drupal accessibility team, they also work on WordPress accessibility teams. The two communities have actually a lot in common. It's not like we're enemies or something.
I think accessibility must go more in every focus of us developers. Yeah, only 10% of the web pages have good accessibility, and this is maybe not the target what we as community want. And this is a good point. Is it easy to edit content or to make something just by mobile device?
Oh yeah, you can use it with mobile. I think maybe we can put it in mobile. Wait, is it here? So sorry. Obviously, last time I used it was with a weird. Let's take the first one. So if you're using Galaxy, for example.
yes, this is okay.
Yeah, it's pretty responsive. I mean, the new theme is pretty cool. And if you want to say go to content, you can add content. There's two default content built in, so article and basic page. So basic page would be like your about page, something that's not changing a lot. And article is pretty much a blog post, right?
Yeah, something like news or whatever, blog post.
Yeah, so you see it's pretty easy to use with mobile. I mean, don't trust me. You can test it with your own mobile.
And say, we go back to desktop view. But so an article feature or blog feature is out of the box in the system. You don't have to activate it.
Yeah, it's default content. So if you're using the default install, that's what you get. I will show you with the full size. So the first menu you get is content. So here you have your content, and it's already a few tabs here, because by default you have content, which are nodes. I will explain more about that. You have blocks, you have comments, and you have files. Most of the time, the first thing I do is disable comments because I don't need it. But yeah, it's out of the box. And then within the content, you have the default article and basic page. So this is where your entities will live. But where you decide what they look like is in structure. So basically, here you will say, okay, I want an article, and an article has a title and a body, and I will add an extra field for images, for example. I want a new type called recipe, and the recipe will have a list of ingredients and a time, and that type of stuff. So this is where all the magic happens. Any Drupal developer knows this screen very much, because at the beginning of a project, you spend a lot of time here making configurations for your content types. So I will give you a small overview, because I don't want to, bore you out, but it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff, and I don't want to spend 2 hours today on this demo because people have things to do. But basically, yeah, every type of entity that you can configure will be here. So you have your blocks, you have comments, you have contact forms, which are not very much used in my experience. People tend to use another type of extension for their more advanced forms, but it's there. You can have it out of the box. Content types, as I told you, would be like basically the pages that you will see. Display modes, that's an interesting thing. I will dig further afterwards. Menus, you can configure menus. Taxonomies, I think if you've ever worked with a CMS before, you're more familiar with that, but most people don't really know what that means. So it's basically your tags, how you put categories on your contents so that after that you can find them, group them, list them by a specific tag. And then there's views, which is also a built-in way to build pages, let's say. So if you want to do a list, that's the built-in way to do it most classically in Drupal. Sometimes people don't like to use it. I know I've worked a lot at agencies who don't like it, because the needs we had were for more performance. And when you have something out of the box, it's a bit like an ORM. If you don't know what it's doing, it might be actually less efficient than typing the request yourself, right? But if you want to do like a small website for, I don't know, your bakery, it's actually pretty powerful. And you don't have to code. That's the idea. So I'm going to show you the top
this
level.
promise a lot of times. People promise that everything is working by itself.
Yeah, that's the problem. If you want something quick and easy, then you can't have something optimized, right? But if you want to do it yourself, which is, I think, what Drupal and WordPress and most CMS are very good at doing, is you can either do it without coding, just by using all these features in the back office. In Drupal, we call that site building. So you have site builders and you have developers. And you can do both or only one of them. It's fine. I will show you the top level, and then after that, I will show you how to create content, because that's basically what we are here for. But yeah, appearance is your themes. So obviously,
is there something like a shop, or how do you?
Good question. So it's being built as of now. It's called the Project Browser Initiative. So for now, we don't have it within Drupal yet. It's coming, but it's in beta, I think. But you can find them on Drupal.org. So, for example, if I show you this one, if you want to look for extensions, so we call that modules, it would be this type of form, and you have one for themes as well. But to be honest, most projects use custom built themes because agencies obviously have designers and they make a custom theme for the customers, but you can go for, a bootstrap base and just customize it yourself, or you can decide to start with the default one and extend it. So that was my backup. Okay. So yeah, Olivero is what you've seen in the front end side, and this is the admin theme, so it's Claro. So both are now built in. They were shipped with Drupal 10 actually, so it's pretty recent. And yeah, there's also some other default ones you can change. But yeah, so you can add new themes. Usually you would do that by using Composer. That's the best way to do anything Drupal now. But there's another project that will allow you to install things directly from the UI.
In Composer.
Yeah, exactly. It will be just a click, which is, what made Drupal 7 pretty popular as well. You could install modules and themes directly from the UI, and it would download it. So now we're trying to recreate that, but with Composer in the backend. So this is also in beta being tested out. You can test it out through an experimental module. But it's coming. So I think it will be a big difference for people who don't have enough knowledge to actually do the Composer part, which is where we're losing people right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So after that, I think I've been telling you about modules and stuff, but maybe I should start by explaining that what I call Drupal out of the box is what we call Drupal core. So this is what we mean when we say when you install Drupal, this is what you get. So this is the basic features, what's inside the box. But you can extend all of this with community code, which we call contrib modules. And so you can browse them like I showed you on Drupal.org. And there's a lot of information there to help you decide which one you need. I will show you, a few favorites of mine, like the must-have at the end. But yeah, basically Drupal core is all of these. And so the ones that are ticked are the ones that are enabled by default. But you can have all of this. It's a lot of modules. And so one of the key things is trying to reduce that, built-in package. For Drupal 10, they removed a few themes and modules that are now out of the core, but they're still available as contrib modules, so you can still install them if you want, but they're not in the default package anymore. And so for Drupal 11, they already plan on removing some more so that Drupal 11 will be, I think, 10% faster than Drupal 8. That's the goal. So we'll see. But yeah, so for example, I stopped here because I think one of the most powerful features of Drupal is the fact that it's multilingual from the beginning, from the top by design. But if you install the default one, obviously it's in English, and then you have to install the languages you want to add. So you would have to enable a few of these to do that. Yes, and so what appears here is what's requested in your composer.json file. So if you want to add a new module, you have to composer require it, then it will be here, and you can enable it with a click or with a drush command in your terminal, obviously. And then, hola. that's the scary part. All the configuration for each and every concept you can think of, there's a config here. And if you install new modules, they will come with their own configs. So I think the only ones we need to really see today is the basic site settings. So that would be where I decide that my title is, and the slogan, and maybe the email address where I receive, updates and information about my site. You can decide which page is your front page, which is your 403, which is your 404. And these configs you can export as YAML files, so you can version them, which is really helpful. Was a big change. So you have two types of entities. You have config entities that you can export as YAML file, and then you have content entities. So that's what lives here in the content menu. And these are not something you export with the core features. They're supposed to change, if I create a node today, it will be node 1. And if I delete it and create another one, it will be node 2, right? And yes. I can have these contents, exported to another Drupal site if I want to, but I need to use some specific modules to do that. It's not meant to be versioned like the configuration. So that's the difference. If you understand this difference between config and content, then after it will make more sense. So
I think so. It's related to other content management systems, I think.
Yeah.
Some stimulus things.
Nobody's reinventing the wheel here. These concepts are very familiar for any type of CMS. So yeah, you can have settings for accounts, text formats and editors. So currently we ship with CK Editor 5. So that's the dependency we have for basic Drupal version. If you want, you can still use version 4 as a contrib modules, though it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But if you have dependencies with that, it's possible. You can also install another one if you like. I don't know. I think there's a tiny MCE, but it's not very used. So yeah, the community has a consensus on CK Editor, and we've worked a lot as a community with their teams to make sure that the new version is really, well thought out. And also there were like accessibility tests and everything, because we didn't want to lose some abilities. So I don't want to be showing you each and every entry. It's just too much. But yeah, you have lots of things you can test out here. I want to show you, this is basically the same as content, but for user entities, so people. So there's only me for now, but I could create other users with roles. So it ships with 4 default roles. Anonymous users, so that would be people just visiting your website. Authenticated is anyone that has logged in. And so content editor and administrator are 2 default roles that we have. So you can decide what each role can do. So here with the permission tab. So you see you have all your user roles, sorry, and you can tick whatever you want. So if I take, for example, edit own comments, by default, content editors and administrators can edit their own comments, obviously. If I create a new type of role, it will add a new column here and I can tick whatever I want. So yeah, obviously administrator has pretty much everything ticked, But also, there's a little subtlety here with my user. So my user admin is user 1. And in Drupal, it means something. So user 1 is the super admin. It doesn't matter which role I have. If I am logged in with user 1, I have all the permissions. I can do everything. So a good practice when you're working with Drupal is to have your own account that is not the super admin. Super admin is fine, it can help you, but if you code using this, your permissions will be fucked up because you're testing with superpowers, so it doesn't make sense. And a good safety rule is to disable this admin in your production environment. So no one should be able to log in with this account on your prod. So yeah, a bit of a safety tip here for you. Disable this user, never use it, have your own personal account. It's just also for GDPR, I guess, for us in Europe. It's very important that you can trace who did what. So personal accounts are a must. But, for demo purposes, it's good to have all the powers. And then another useful menu is the reports. So, for example, it generates this type of status reports that are very useful. So here you can see my Drupal version, my other, all of these are not really important because we're using DDev, so these I did not set up, obviously. But even the PHP version and the memory limits are here, so I can make sure it's using the right one. And I have some warnings here. So it's giving you the solution, basically. So it says, oh, be careful because your settings.php is not protected. So I should switch to more restrictive permissions for this file, which is fine when you're local environment, right? But in prod, it might be a problem. And it doesn't know if I'm up to date because I haven't run the cron. So let's do that now. Okay, I only have one warning anymore. Cool, because it's a fresh install, so I would be sad if I had an update right now. Yeah, so you have all the little infos here to help you make sure that your Drupal website is running perfectly correctly. And you have other types of reports, so the available updates, it will show you Drupal core and your extensions as well. The logs, the top, denied, page not found errors, etc. And you can customize these, add more. Yeah. So that's a lot, I've only showed you level 1 menu, and there's already a lot. So I want to breathe a little bit and let's try maybe to, what do you want to do? Add a language maybe?
And maybe I have two questions
Yeah.
to get you a bit breath on your own. So the first thing is maybe, yeah, I understand the security tip from you. I think then you make your own admin user and it has maybe full power.
Okay, so if I create a new user here, let's say
Roland or whatever. Yeah, or you yourself, yes.
So I will do that. I will put whatever. Yeah, my password is weak, I know. Okay, so here you have recommendations, obviously. You can decide if the user is blocked or active because that's the default form. And then I will choose my role. So I will make myself an administrator. I can decide to send an email to the new account or not. I can put a profile picture. I don't want people to contact me, so I'm disabling the personal contact form. And no, I'm in. Wait. I'm in UTC +2, so I have to go back. Wait, America, Africa. Okay.
Europe.
It's not the best. Yeah. Okay, I'll take Berlin just for your sake. Okay, so I've got my new user, and so I can switch and log in with Marine. And now this user will be bound by the permissions that are set here for administrators, right? But if I'm logged in with user 1, which I currently am, even if I disable, for example, any type of permission, it will still have them
Yeah, it's
because
okay.
user
It's super
1
admin,
bypasses everything. It's just this user. But other than that, you can still give full power to other people through permissions. But the difference is if you're logged in with an administrator with all the permission ticked, it's a bit different from user 1 because user 1 bypasses permissions. It just doesn't care about it. So, if you're trying to set up custom permissions, which you can do pretty easily with code, it will just ignore that. So, yeah, that's the difference. I hope that's clear.
Okay, yeah, it's clear. And the other thing is when you have some kind of versioning here in the data sets that you can see the changes
Yeah. So,
by
if I
default? Yes, because
Yeah,
this is
so
not in
here
every.
is, yeah, exactly. So this is a basic page and this is the default. I haven't installed anything yet, right? So I have the title, I have a body with a summary that's a shorter version. So if you don't fill it, it will just trim a bit of your text. Then you can decide if it's published or not. So you can create a draft if you want. And here you have revision log message. So you can have what we call revisions every time you edit it. And then they're, out of the box. And the other options is to add this in a menu right from here. So if I want to add it to my main navigation, I can do that right from here. So let's say about, that would be my page. Let's create this one. Oh, I don't know how to type. Amazing demo. Woo. Okay. So we'll add my menu link. I can choose here an alias for my URL. So by default, any type of content in Drupal will be like node/1 or user/1, etc. But you can decide to create aliases. So it's like more about, which is nicer, obviously.
But you have to do this every time by hand, and it don't get automatically the
No, you can do
page
this
title.
automatically with a config modules, which is one of the must-have I will show you after. And so by default, you have like the authoring information. I can change that. I can say that it was written by Marine if I prefer. And I can change the date of creation just to say, okay, this is an article I published, but it was actually written 2 weeks ago, whatever. And you can promote to front page or make it sticky at the top of lists. There's, a lot of options. So there's also a preview. Oh, ooh, my bad. The alias has to start with a slash. So let's try this again, preview. So it will show me my content with the front end theme, which is Olivero here. And that's what it will look like. So I can, go back and say, I don't know, it's a bit empty. Can I add more things like, okay. Oh, that's better. Okay. So here, another things is I told you earlier about display modes, and I would explain to you. So this is a full page. So this is full content display mode. But by default, you have two available, and the one that is shorter is teaser. Here it doesn't change anything because I have not configured it. But you can decide to have each and every one of your content types have different display modes. For example, if it's to be shown as a full page, but also as an extract in a list, I can use the teaser view mode for the list. I'm going to show you after that. So this is my content. I created it, and you can see that it is /about, and it is also in my menu because I did that right from the content. And if I want to see the display modes here, you can see that for each type of content, I have some default ones. So I even have like the RSS by default. For comments, I have the full comment, and that's the only one I have, but I can add a short version if I want to make another one. And so here, let's go and change. So for my basic page, I want to edit. So here is the description that you see when you want to add content here. This is what's here. I can edit that, change it. I can disable the preview if I want to. I can say, okay, by default, it's not published. I can disable the revisions, like I said to you, etc. And then I can manage the fields. So here I have body as default. Title is just something that is built in, so it's not appearing here, but obviously every content has a title. I can create a new one, so I have a lot of types available from the get-go. So I can create, taxonomy term, images.
Images would be, it's an important
Yeah.
element.
Wait, I will show you after the images. So, wait, is it? So basically, we don't use the default image fields because we have media and media library, which are a much better experience. It's in the core, but it's not enabled by default. So I will enable them now so I can show you. The main difference is that if you do a media field, you can reuse the content. So it uploads your media to a library that you can reuse from on the other contents. So here I created the media field. I wanted to reference media. I want to only have one value each time, but you can also create one with unlimited and have like a gallery type of field. Let's say that it's required. Why not? And so these are the default media types that come built in, and I want an image. Okay. So now I have two fields. I want to see how my form will be displayed. So I just added, this media field, and I want it to be before the body. Okay, so if I now create content, I can see my media is on top. That's good. That's what I wanted. But now I want to manage the display. And here you find your tabs. Like I said, by default, you have two modes. Default, which is the full size page, and teaser, which will be the shorter one. So, of course, I want my image on top. I don't want to see the label that says image field, so I will hide it. By the way, for accessibility reasons, you only use hidden, which means it will still be present in the code, and screen readers can read the label. That's really important. And I want to render my entity so that it will show me an image. But if I want, I could render just the label or the ID, depending on what you're doing, can be pretty useful. Okay, so that's what I want for my full size. But for my teaser, I want the short version so you can see that my media was disabled already. Cool. I want to keep that that way. And I want, the trim version of my body. And let's just have 50 characters so we can see the difference. Okay. There's also a way to manage permissions for this content type right here, so you don't have to deal with the whole permission tab, which can be hellish. But yeah. So now if I go back to my existing content and I edit it, I have a media that is required and I have not put it before, so obviously I cannot save anymore. Wait, do I have an image? Yeah, I'm gonna use this amazing silly picture of me. Well, I'm not gonna put a real alt text because there's a lot to say on this, but let's just put just a nice one for demo's sake. And here it is. I can insert that, save, and now if I go, it will display on top. And if I create a new content, I can reuse it. It's now in my library. So I don't have to, re-upload an image that's going to be reused a lot of times. So that's why we use medias rather than files. Media is using file behind the scene, but it's doing something more on top so it can be reused. So yeah, that would be my basic page with basic configuration. And so let's say another content here. I guess I can get some lorem ipsum. Here you go. Generate. Nice. Okay, so this one has a lot more text. And if I want to preview it with my teaser view mode, no image and only 50 characters. That's a drastic change, right? I'm going to leave the preview. Let's create a view. So I want to see a view of all my basic pages. Why not? I will show content of type basic page. I will show the newest first. That's fine. I want to create a page for it. Page title will be pages. Okay. The path will be pages. Fine. I will show an unformatted list, but I can show a grid, a table. Let's go with the default. And I'm using view mode teaser because that's what I want. But by default, I can also show full posts or just the titles with or without link on them. But because we configured the teasers, let's go with teasers. I want to see 10 by page. Okay, create a menu link on my main navigation.
Do you have there also multi-selection that you can say on some kind of overview page, yes? That you can say you have the title and the image?
Sorry, I didn't get the beginning of your sentence. Can you repeat?
Yeah, this is you are configuring something like an overview page, or where you have a sitemap or whatever. Can you also select multiple things that you can say we want to explain, like a blog overview that we have the image and the title?
Yeah, you can decide to have whatever you want. So, for
So it's a
example,
multi-selection there.
so display modes, you have, for example, teaser here that you can edit, but you can create your custom one if you want. You can create as many as you want for each type of content, and then put whatever fields you want in it, and then create your lists with that however you like. So yeah, you can add any type of display you like. Here I'm just doing the most basic thing, which is create a list of pages, newest first, with the teaser view mode, so really just using basic stuff. But I also clicked to have like a feed, like a RSS feed, so it will generate the XML for me, and then you can get that, right? So that's my page. If I want to edit things, I can filter by published, yes, and it's filtered by basic page, so that's what I filled. But if I want to add filters, I could be filtering by author, for example. And you can also have sort criteria that also appear on top. You can decide whether people see the filters and the sort criteria or not. So it makes you like a searchable page if you want to. And there's so many options like relationships or contextual filters. I mean, it's a really powerful tool. So now if I want to change, no, pages is fine. Okay, let's do that. Let's see the results. So back to site. Now I have my pages here. Yeah. Why? I lost myself, sorry. Here, pages. Okay, so now I have my 2 pages in the order I wanted them, with only 50 characters as my teaser. And yeah, you can change whatever you want. Let's go back. So I have my pages. And now I want to change for, I don't know, grid, I guess. Why not? See if that changes something. Okay, it's a grid. I guess, of course, I didn't think a lot about it, so it doesn't look great because there's only 2 contents, but yeah. So one way
Well, it's
to...
amazing that you can do it so simple and use this Bootstrap.
Yeah, it's very simple. It's, I mean, for this type of content, if you have simple needs like 2 lists of events or, news, like a blog kind of thing, it's really easy to do. It's just a few clicks, set up. Once you know that your way in the back office, it's really easy and quick. And I can change the filters. I can decide that it's one or the other, It's really, you can do some fine-grained stuff here. I can decide to change my pager, have an offset. I have more than 10 items per page. Customize the previous link text. I mean, there's tons of options. So I cannot get into everything. It's just too much.
Sure. You don't have to do all the stuff, but I think for an overview,
yeah,
how to start, and yeah, it's amazing how much possibilities you have.
Yeah, I didn't even show
to
you, but
make,
there's...
but you can just simple add things, and then you can go much forward with all those.
Yeah, and so for
menus.
example, this page I put in my shortcuts because here I can go very easily back to it. I don't have to go through all the menus if I know I'm going to use it a lot. So that's cool. And so I want to finish by saying that there's a lot of very useful modules here that I think most people install right away, even though they're not in the core, they're basically part of it. So first one I want to show you is DevRel. This is a developer module, so it's going to help you when you code, find your way. There's like, you can dump your trace, find where you are, which functions you've called, etc. But it has a submodule that is very useful that is called DevRel Generate. And so it allows you to generate from the back office or with the CLI command, content. So you can say, please create 50 dummy pages for me. And it will lorem ipsum 50 content in just a second for you. So when you test your display, for example, your theme, and you want, pages and pages of content, test your lists, test your grids, it's very, very useful. But this must be a require dev type of module. So when you compose or require it, you require dev, and you never, never, never enable it in your staging or production environment. It's a dev tool. So it will ruin your performance, and it will show stack traces and stuff. You don't want that. So be careful with that, but it's really helping. Another one that people really like is the admin toolbar. It makes your admin experience a little better. It's one of these, nice to have things. And you did ask me about the aliases earlier, right? Well, Path Auto is like the best. You really need this. It allows you to create patterns to generate default aliases. So I will say, okay, all of my contents that are basic pages, I want the pattern to be the title and just that. Okay, so it will take the title, create an alias out of here, replacing the spaces with dashes, stuff like that. And you just let it do its work. It will give you bulk operations to update all of your existing contents. And when you create new ones, it will automatically create the alias, so you don't have to think about it. But if I create, blog posts, I can decide that the pattern will be /blog/ the title. And it will do that automatically for you. So it's pretty powerful. Yeah. You can even have like tokens, so replacement tokens. For example, say, okay, you will put the name of the author first, then a /, then the title, for example. And it will create your alias that way. So it's really the missing link that you saw earlier. And the other one that I feel like everybody should have is meta tag. So this will add a few fields in any type of content you have to fill your meta tags. So anything that can help you for SEO is good, I think. And here, again, you can define some automation and say, okay, for the description tag, always take like the summary of the content, for example. It can be that type of stuff. So you can automate all that with patterns and tokens, and it's really powerful. And you mentioned the sitemap, and there's simple XML sitemap that will generate it for you. You just have to decide, okay, I want to exclude this type of content or not. I want to give it more weight. And again, it will generate it for you and send it to your robots for indexation. So that's a must-have, I think. And the last one in that category would be redirect. So if you have problems with canonical URLs, it's really cool because then you can have automated redirections when you move something around or change your categories or anything. And it will do that for you and make sure that you don't suddenly drop your ranks and have SEO problems or broken pages. So that's really cool because if you, for example, the page that I created earlier, I did add, a custom alias. So if I was to install Path Auto now and change the title, then my alias will change. And there's going to be an automatic redirection with that module from the old title to the new one. I can see them in the list, edit them manually, drop them all.
That was my question, to have an overview. And
Yeah,
if the
exactly. It
system
does.
figure out what could be the last pass of this.
Yeah, exactly. So you can see if you have conflicting path, or if you want to drop all of them, or change the pattern and recreate them, you can do that. And so for each module here, you have the composer require command at the end that you can just copy. It will tell you which version it's compatible with. You can see this one was already here in Drupal 7, so it's still available if you have Drupal 7 sites, etc. And yeah, from this page, you can see the source code, you can see the issue queue, who's maintaining it. Yeah. And so I guess I want also to give a shout out to two other modules. So for us in Europe specifically, we're aware of GDPR very much. And so that's a nice cookie banner that can help you, with
This is useful,
default.
yes.
Yeah. So I would say by default,
So,
obviously you don't need it, but once you start having a little bit of, JavaScript, and there's a lot of, I don't like Google, but some people still use it for, there's also Matomo. You can use that. And so it will
I
work
use it on local,
seamlessly.
yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it will take that into account and help you with a lot of the basic stuff. Obviously, for some of the more advanced usage, you would still have to do some custom code if you have custom cookies, for example, stuff like that. But basically, it gives you consent by category. You can have by default, the opt-in, which is the law, but most cookie banners don't do that. They force you to accept everything. So this is not the case here. You can customize it very well. And the last one, I think, is paragraphs. So that's a way of creating content. You know how I told you about medias that you add them in a library, you can reuse them. Paragraphs allows you to define like a group of fields, and then this structure can be added to any type of content, and so you can have this group predefined and reuse it across different contents. So that's pretty powerful. I think it would make you think of Gutenberg for WordPress on some aspects, but it's not the same logic. But it would be, the same idea of having reusable blocks of fields that you can add to your content. And by the way, Gutenberg is also available on Drupal. Someone made a module for that. So if you like that experience, you can have it in Drupal as well. And I think, yeah, a lot of websites today with Drupal use paragraphs. But there's so much more to tell you because you can also use built-in layout builder, so you can compose your page however you want with a header, footer. You can customize everything. But I
Very
feel
nice,
like I've
yes.
already told you a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I'm also deciding to make this few DDEV commands on the weekend
Yeah.
and just play
So
around with.
do that if you want to. Here, instead of installing the default install, you can check the command and install. If you check the docs, you can decide to install Umami instead, so the demo
The demo
content.
page, yes.
So you will have a completely different theme than the one I showed you, and you will have default recipes and taxonomies and medias, and you can like sniff around and see how it works. But basically, I would say the problem with Drupal is you have so many options that the beginning feels like a bit overwhelming. And that's what we're trying to streamline and simplify, with the initiatives I told you about to make Drupal out of the box easier. But yeah, it's coming. People are working on it. That's the thing with open source, right? You can only go as far as people have time to go. But yeah, if you want, if the audience wants, we can do another part with a more advanced use case. We can and show a little bit of code. I feel like there's so much to say because
Yes,
obviously
I
most
think
people I know don't like to click in the back office. They want to
we
code,
need
right?
we need a second session. I don't think that we come around of it.
Yeah,
And yeah, but as I tell you, I try to set it up for
yeah,
a page, and after this, maybe I got a few questions, and maybe on the next time I can share my screen and
oh,
we can do some things.
we can pair. I can, yeah, that would be awesome. But yeah, I hope you liked it and that
Yeah, sure. And
it's
so the
super
first thing
quick
is
to
that
set
I
up, right?
have to start and to understand what I can do with it. But the backend, yes, sure, it's powerful, but you have to go through the steps, and that you are not having thousands of items and options
Yeah,
directly in the view. So you activate the things, the understanding of the wording, of the domain wording.
yeah,
You have to understand that is a thing, but it's an enterprise CMS. You can do
yeah.
big sites with this. It's
Oh yeah.
big sites need a lot of features, and
So
yeah,
that's true. I didn't even tell you, but that's the type of website that are built with Drupal is university websites, institutional, government website. The White House used to be Drupal for a while. Um, Lots of French government websites are made with Drupal. That's really sturdy, that's safe. That's a really good tool for that. There's, I think, one of Tesla websites is with Drupal. You have a lot of institutions like the UN has a lot of Drupal websites, a
hmm.
lot of NGOs like Doctors Without Borders, or um, you know, there's so many big names that are using Drupal. And like you said, it's more for like sturdy websites with a lot of feature needs. um, One thing I didn't even tell you about is like you can do multi-site out of the box with Drupal. There are several ways to do that. There's also a module called domain, but basically, I've worked on websites that are using like 50, 60 sites, and they're all using the same Drupal code, the same bases, and sometimes even the same database. It just depends on how it's set up. But
Yes, yes.
so you can do that to have like one institutional website, and local branches have their own websites that they can contribute to and have the same design across all of them, for example. That's something that's, basically out of the box for Drupal. That plus multilingual, and then you can have a lot of use cases covered already. So yeah.
Okay, so yeah, very nice. I think we are around for today,
Yeah.
and it was nice. I see this. Thanks for your slow time for this. That I don't be too much overkilled by features. It was a good tempo here, I think. And
Yeah,
I will try to install it. It was easy. I have DDEV here. These are only a few lines, and then I
exactly.
check out the um, modules, like this path module. What is the importance?
Path photo.
And
Yeah, I will send you all the links I showed, so
yeah,
you can
the
edit
best
the
thing
description. Yeah.
is to do this on an email, and then I can make this under this YouTube video, because
Yeah.
when you put links inside, they will be detected as spam. So I can do
Okay.
this different roles, yes, also everywhere in life, different editor roles.
Yeah.
And yeah, so um, what else would you say for the ending part? Where should I
Ah.
follow Drupal? Is it on LinkedIn, Twitter, GitHub directly, or should I even go to the Slack or Discord channel or whatever?
Yeah.
What is the thing when I want to get
Oh, all of these.
all of things?
No, you can have like all the change logs, releases, all this information, the documentation, it's on Drupal.org. But then the community is mainly on Slack. So there's a Slack for Drupal community. The French community, we also have our own Slack because we talk a lot in French. They have Twitter, they have all the social networks, so you can follow stuff here. There's a lot also of community like press. Maybe you've seen, by the way, that the Drop Times, which is community news, has made an article about this live that we're doing today. So you can follow them for everything Drupal. And basically, I just want to say that Drupal community as a whole is very welcoming, and that's the reason why I'm still there. Because lots of tools are amazing, right? But you stay for the little extra. And Drupal's like motto is come for the code, stay for the community. And that's
This
exactly
is
what
a nice
happened to
one.
me. Yeah. So I feel like if you want to really get to know the community and improve your skills with Drupal, the best way is to go to an event, whether that's a meetup or here, for example, in France, in October, there's going to be DrupalCon Europe. So that happens every year in a different country. That's the biggest European Drupal conference. And so, yeah, next time is in France. So I'm super excited. I'm helping with the
Yes,
committee. So if you are in northern France in October, you should definitely come. And yeah, there's a big one in the US as well. Lots of local meetups and camps and stuff. So I think meeting with your local community can be a great help to get yourself started. Yeah.
Okay, so nice ending words. So many thanks for this overview, and we go forward. I think we are now also coming faster up here to YouTube. It's just screen sharing. It's easy. And if anybody else of you wants to show here something, keep invited. Roland at nevercodealone.de or on any other channel, multi-channels. I'm on the way. And so we will wink to the camera and say, have a nice day, weekend, weather, green pipelines, and whatever you believe in for today. Leave the office, go away to the sun. And yeah, so far, bye-bye.
Bye.